Okay. Good evening, everyone. I am Mark, and this is Asking the Right Questions, where today, where normally we would have a specific topic. Today, uh, it's been kind of a rough week. Various car problems, various just a lot of things happening. I had a really busy weekend with my band. Unfortunately, fortunately, actually, it was really good. It was a good time. And we set up, obviously, a new mic setup. Got things a little bit more streamlined, specifically for streaming video games, which both me and my wife do. And my wife just hit affiliate status on Twitch, so congratulations to her. It's fantastic news. She can start accepting subscribers, which is awesome. That makes it far more worth it. So that now she can have people, that help to give her money and contribute to her, because she does an amazing job playing the games that she plays, and she does an amazing job. She loves it. And I have a good time sitting off to the side and cracking bad jokes. And then I just kind of like playing Overwatch, which I'm only going to spend an hour today doing this, pending things going crazy, and then I'm going to get on Overwatch because I haven't played in a few days. And like I said, it's been a little bit of a rough week. So things got kind of backed up, and the ability to come up with one specific topic was a little difficult. And I'm going to do this from time to time. So we're going to talk about a variety of topics, primarily things that are in the news right now. And then, just today, Netflix dropped this trailer on me. So, as you know, I am a resident of Flint, Michigan. I am born and raised here. I went to school here, except for some short time when I lived in Lansing for about a year and a half. I've always lived here. So, I've witnessed the start, the middle, and the continuing water crisis, both from just outside the city limits and now living within the city limits for the past while. So I was a little shocked. Now I saw this was happening, and I had heard some rumblings about it because I had some friends who actually worked on this documentary. But there's a documentary dropping March 2nd. I encourage you to watch it, even though my feelings will be mixed on it. And it's been very much a polarizing topic today on Facebook among residents, friends who live here and family that lives here. But we're going to watch that first, and then I'm going to kind of talk about how I feel about it, and let you know that this is just one resident's feelings on this. Like I said, the reaction has been mixed, and I do encourage you to watch it just for the sake of seeing at least one side of a story. And I'm really hoping that the perspective is expanded beyond what it portrays it's going to be about. But in the meantime, this dropped, and let's just go ahead and rip off this Band-Aid. I've already seen it a couple times, but let's go ahead and just give it a quick look over.
Flint isn't average by a long shot. It's hard to step out of your own skin and realize that this isn't what everyone else is dealing with. I mean, every system has a breaking point, and I don't know where ours is.
Flint, it was a great place to grow up. The home of the middle class.
And then things kind of changed. Then they changed quick.
You're all right, okay?
We are inundated by violence. There's just not enough of us.
Poverty breeds crime.
And you throw in there a water crisis. How is there not civil unrest?
Motherfucker.
Police officers are problem solvers, but sometimes it seems as if the problems have no end.
I don't think the police, the government, the politicians, they don't give a fuck about you no way.
The current climate for police work is scary, it's intimidating.
We're gonna take our city back.
Man, what the fuck, bro?
We're gonna take it back.
How can you trust the police these days? How can you?
I have a son. It makes me afraid for him to grow up.
The thought went through my head, this guy's gonna kill me. And then I just started shooting again.
The urban police have the power to tear a city apart or help hold it together.
We have to show people that we're human too, and this is more than just a job.
Stupid motherfucker! Stand behind your back!
I feel lost right now.
How can a city fall so far that we lose sight of the possibility of solutions?
What's ailing this city could become an epidemic around the country.
Okay. All right. Where do we even begin? The crime rate in Flint over the past 5 years has steadily dropped. For starters. I have always had a very uncomfortable feeling when it comes to portraying this city as violent and crime-ridden. It is true that there is a lot of poverty here. I'm not going to deny that, and I'm not going to deny that there isn't crime here. That is not something that I'm here to do. I definitely think that yes, there is an issue in how much policing we have, but our problems go beyond that. And the way that this trailer appears to be showing how the documentary is going to go is that it's going to pretty much take the side of, well, we just need more policing and we don't because budget cuts. And that only tells such a minuscule part of the story that I fear this documentary is going to only make the city worse and appear worse than it actually is. And that is a fear that I've seen come to fruition a number of times in my 30 plus years of living here. And I really think that, well, I hope that this documentary treads very lightly in portraying the city from one perspective, to push one narrative. I understand that there's only so much you can do with these mediums, and yes, of course, but the thing about documentary films is they can have multiple narratives that they're pushing, multiple objectives to push. They can push more than one consensus, more than one idea at a time. You can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. Therefore, these movies can do that. But I don't think it's going to do that. I think it's going to push one perspective, one narrative, and that's just going to be it. And, you know, I really commend my friends who worked on this movie. You know, they do great work. They've been attached to, you know, a number of great films that have been filmed in the area, primarily in Detroit. And that's great. That is really a wonderful thing. I watched this for the first time probably about a half hour ago. Okay? It's been almost an hour at this point. So I'm still kind of processing it. And I knew this was out earlier today, but I worked and I had to take care of some stuff that I didn't want to do. So I'm still trying to work through my feelings on it as they pertain to a broader perspective, which is how I like to tackle things like this. But right now, all I can do is talk about how my feelings are on it. And they're not good. I will watch it. I will watch it. But I don't feel like this movie is going to do anything positive for the city. Except for maybe we might get a couple more police officers. Which, like I said, that's only one solution to a multifaceted problem. We don't need more. We're in a position in this city where we don't currently trust the government. I think that is an understandable feeling to have, okay? I feel like that is something that we definitely have earned. We have earned the right to distrust the government coming in and telling us what so. Because the last time they did that, they destroyed our water system. So, more police does not seem to be an answer to much. Other than, you know, what's one thing that could possibly help the crime in the city, the violence in the city? It's one thing that will help it. It's only one thing. And I really feel like this is going to push that we just need more cops. What we don't need, apparently, is a new water supply. What we don't need is for people to be taken care of who were poisoned by lead, or children who were poisoned by lead, who are going to become adults in this situation. And, you know, they're going, you know, the number of studies that have linked increases in crime and increases in violence to lead is just going to go by the wayside, just to not take care of these people and to treat them as criminals who should know better, but at the same time we're poisoned into not knowing better, because that's what lead does to your body, what it does to your brain. So I'm trying not to get too emotional about this, because it upset me pretty heavily, and I really believe that the city can come back from where it's been. And that quote in the beginning was like, you know, oh, you know, Flint used to be a great place to grow up. And when are we talking about this era that Flint was this shining city on the hill? The fucking 50s? The 60s? That's the last I remember. Shit started going downhill in the 70s, and it's been downhill ever since. And to paint it as, well, this is a recent thing, and oh yeah, water crisis, is just it's bullshit is what it is. It's fucking bullshit. And if that dude is anywhere near my age and he had that line to say, then, you know, he needs his fucking head checked, and he probably shouldn't be a police officer. Regardless, our problems are multifaceted. There is no one solution, and it's especially not just police. We do not need more government force in this city. And this is speaking as a progressive. This is speaking as someone who believes in the good that government can do. We do not need more government force in here. What we need is more government welfare in this city to correct an issue that was caused by our state government. But I really get the feeling we're not going to get that. And I really don't think that this movie is going to make that point properly. I feel like they're just going to say, we need more dudes cracking heads and throwing people in prison. As a guy who lives fucking yards from the prison, I can tell you that is not a solution. That is only going to aggravate a common current problem. We've tried that before. It goes to shit. We need to help these people, not imprison them. You know, and I understand making the cops look sympathetic. Out of all the areas, especially in Michigan, that, you know, that I've come into contact with the police, Flint has been actually very steady in that aspect. I mean, you can ask anybody around here who the actual, you know, police you have to worry about harassing you are in this city, or in this area, you know, in the county. You know, you're usually going to hear something like Clio or Grand Blanc, or Clio, especially if you're darker. Yeah. God damn, man. I definitely want this movie to do a thing that it's not going to do, that it is completely incapable of doing. And that's a problem. That is a real problem that we have going on here. I don't know, man. I don't know about that. But I'm just going to have to wait for the documentary to come out and hope and pray that they did a good job and actually giving more than one perspective. I understand making the Flint police look sympathetic. I understand the problems that they deal with. I mean, I work in healthcare, used to work in healthcare, going into healthcare. My wife works in healthcare. You know, I live in the city. I know what the problems are. I know where the problem areas are. I know it. I fucking know. You don't need to tell me. And I feel for them. And like I said, they're usually, the cops in this area, usually some of the better that you can deal with, because the narrative around here on the police around here is that they've got bigger things to worry about. Usually a murder, which happens. And I do believe that that's what they're kind of pushing. That's what they have to deal with, that they have too much on their plate. But again, it's one solution. It's one solution that needs more than one solution, and I really hope that there's more than one solution given in the movie. So it's going to be hard to move on from that topic, but I've until I sit down and actually think about this a little bit more, I'm pretty much said all that I feel right now on it. So we'll go ahead and move on. So, next on the docket, there were about, what was that? 12 Russians indicted last week in connection to interference with our elections. Now, I'm not a big believer in that the effect that they had was substantial, but I am one who does easily recognize the problem that comes from not taking such things seriously. And I also recognize that we're generally pretty hypocritical, because we do it too, basically, and we have done it. You know, the constant narrative of, you know, Muslims being violent in Muslim countries, usually it has more to do with the fact that, oh, I don't know, we came ravaging into their country and killed their leaders that they chose to elect, but they weren't friendly to U.S. business interests. So yeah, that's what we do. Or we spread propaganda networks like this. And while I think that it's wrong that they did that, I don't think it was necessary to go so overboard in pushing a narrative that that's the only problem. So then Jimmy Dore opened his mouth. I have not watched this. It's 32 minutes. I'm going to watch a little bit of it, probably get too angry to finish it, rant about it, and then probably move on to the next story. But let's go ahead and see what good old Jimmy Dore has to say. I'm not... The title of this video, I know it's already going to be fucking horrible, because he titled this video FBI Russian Indictments Used to Silence the Left. Fuck you, Jimmy. Fuck you. You are fucking horrible at your job. And let's go ahead and be punished. Why not? Let's go ahead and punish ourselves by listening to this moron spread his unearned expertise all over this bullshit.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. I'm here with the miserable liberal and Ron Placone. I am miserable.
Howdy, howdy.
Hey, thanks everybody who made it out on Friday to our live show. It was fantastic. Of course, it was sold out a few weeks ahead of time, and it was a great time. Oh, wow, what a fun time. Everybody was funny. Sam Tripoli was hilarious.
Yeah.
Steve-O was there. Laura Keitlinger, Graham Elwood, the political vigilante, of course, was fantastic. And did I skip anybody? I got everybody. Break it down what happened with the Mueller. And he gave indictments, and it makes it look like, oh, my God, there's 13 indictments. There must have really, Russia really meddled with our election. That really was true. There was no way Hillary lost to Donald Trump. It was the Russians. That's what people literally believe now. Right? So,
no, that isn't what people literally believe, Jimmy. That is what some people believe, and they're deluded. I can recognize that. I understand that the media is pushing a certain narrative a certain way, but at the same time, they have recognized a few times that she was a flawed candidate. She has recognized that, or they have recognized that there were things that went on besides this Russian interference. So, no, people don't believe that, Jimmy. So, going on.
Here it is. Special Counsel Mueller. Russians conducted information warfare against the United States during election to help Donald Trump win. The indictment says that a Russian organization called the Internet Research Agency, that's the name, sought to wage information warfare against the United States and to sow discord. It sounds like they were like really at any moment could take over our country, right? Doesn't it? They're got information warfare. They almost took us over. In reality, they hired a dozen Twitter bots. This is literally what this is all about, which is why this is hilarious, which is why I have to read it to you and then show you how the mainstream people are free. Like, Hitler did not have that hard of a time. People go along with fucking hysteria like that. And people I used to respect, I'm going to show you in a second, Ari Melber, out of his fucking mind. They're all out of their mind. Chris Hayes let someone complete. Anyway, we're going to show you in a second.
Jimmy,
I'm guessing the guy in Chris Hayes he's talking about is Sam Cedar. So, yeah. Subtle, Jimmy. Subtle. But, look, they did push a narrative to sow discord, but at the same time, whereas the actual outcome from this cannot be measured and likely was a minuscule drop in the bucket compared to the other things that led to Hillary Clinton's loss. I mean, for one thing, I know he's going to go on and he's going to list, all the problems he had with Clinton, and he's going to then start bitching about how if everyone voted for Jill Stein, she might have made it to 5%, which, by the way, holy fuck, if everyone voted for Jill Stein, she would have reached 5%. Fuck you, you fucking dumbass. Oh my God. Why do people take this man seriously? And when I call him out, they say he's a fucking comedian. Okay, yes, he's a fucking comedian, but he portrays himself as some sort of fucking expert. He's neither. He's neither been funny. He's not going to be funny in this video. That joke that he just told, did that land? Was that funny? Did that make you chuckle? It was lame. It was a lame joke. He's got to tell it because he's like, oh, I'm a comedian. But he's always been a bad comedian. Even back in the day, he wasn't funny. You want to know what was funny about the old Jimmy Dore show? Frank Conniff. Frank Conniff was funny on that show. Jimmy Dore was not. Shots fired. So, he's clearly not a comedian. So what the fuck is he? He's not an expert. So what the fuck is he? What's he doing in front of a camera on his giant fucking using his giant fucking megaphone, his giant medium to promote this bullshit? Especially from the fact that what he's going to basically allude to later is the shit that they were pushing at the time during the election was shit that he fell for. He's going to neglect to talk about how, you know, he believed Hillary Clinton had fucking Parkinson's and that made her not able to be president. He's going to omit any talk about Seth Rich, which was all a part of that. That was all a part of that. He's going to neglect to mention, he's going to rightfully cherry pick the claim that the mainstream media made that they targeted Bernie Sanders supporters after Bernie Sanders was no longer running. They're not going to neglect to point that out, but he's then going to use that to say, well, then you should have voted for Jill Stein. He's going to do this shitty jujitsu around the room to avoid that topic and end up back on, well, I voted for the candidate who offered the Green New Deal. Well, good for you, Jimmy. What's that say about a place in Michigan? Like someone voted in Michigan, a swing state, that could have gone Clinton and we would not be dealing with this bullshit today. We would not. Do I believe, you know, someone asked me on Twitter a couple weeks ago, by the way, you know, the guy got so frustrated with me, he ended up calling me a fag and signing off, which I was like, yeah, you're a real progressive. He loved to tell me that he's so much more left-wing than I am, and then he called me a fag. Good on you. And a retard. Good job. That's real progressive. That totally isn't problematic language. Really good. It's just showing off how good your politics are. All because you can't defend this man. But, like, goddamn it, I'm gonna get upset all over again. So let us proceed.
Freaking out just hearing the term information warfare.
Information warfare against the United States to sow discord in the American political system by using fictitious American personas and social media platforms and other internet-based media. So just like we said before, they had literally like a dozen media Twitter trolls. We talked about they spent how much money on Facebook ads, half of them appearing after the election. So the Internet Research Agency is so-called a troll farm. So it was a troll farm based in St. Petersburg, Russia. Was allegedly, by the way, no connection to the Russian government. Mm-hmm. It was allegedly.
No connection to the Russian government. Literally says on the screen. Here, I'm going to screen share this. I was trying to avoid that, but here, let me just go ahead and show you this. Because as he says that, as this moron says that, read the last 3 lines. Was allegedly controlled by a defendant in the indictment named Yevgeny Prigozhin. I guarantee I butchered that name, but it continues, who is a wealthy associate of Russian President Vladimir Putin. But no connection. None. It's what? Huh? Associate? What? I said a thing and the graphic behind me says something different. What? Why do you take this man seriously? Why is this man getting, multiple thousands of views per video? Why does this man have his own channel being pushed by the largest left-wing news organization in the world? Why does he get a platform on that same news network, and also has another show on that network. Why is that a thing that is happening? And why is he being taken seriously? Give me a fucking break. It's literally right there. I showed it to you. I showed you it. Now, there are a lot of interpretations of what associate can mean. I understand that, because I'm not an idiot. But in the context of Russia, in the context of where Russia is and what it is a part of in the grander discussion of, like, they have literally a government that is run by oligarchs. Vladimir Putin just so happens to be A, the richest one, and B, the one elected president. Therefore, he answers to the oligarchs. So if you're a Russian oligarch in Russia, Jimmy, guess what? You answer to them. So it doesn't matter if they hold some sort of cabinet position. It's sort of like saying that Eric Prince has nothing to do with our. But we know that's not true, don't we? We know who Eric Prince is. Oh, looks like somebody has entered the chat. Welcome. Hampas Spenstedt. I guarantee I butchered that, but welcome. So, let's attempt to move on as Jimmy continues to show how little he knows about Russia and how little he understands anything, and how he likes to paint with broad strokes while at the same time claiming everyone does that to him. Let us proceed.
Controlled by a defendant in the indictment named Yevgeny Prigozhin, who is a wealthy associate of Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Oh my God, he read it.
That's like saying Bill Gates is a wealthy associate of President Donald Trump, because they.
No, it's like saying that Eric Prince is an associate of Donald Trump. Eric Prince, the fucking Blackwater guy. The guy whose sister is currently the education secretary, who also negotiated for our current president in transition while in the United Arab Emirates for Russia. That's what it's like saying, dumbass. It's not talking about Bill fucking Gates. You just pulled some random fucking rich guy out of your ass without recognizing what it's actually saying. It's saying someone directly in contact, directly working with, for the same goals. So while this story does need to be downplayed for a lot of reasons, he's downplaying it for the wrong ones. He reads wealthy associate and thinks, well, it's like Bill Gates and Donald Trump. No, it's not. It's like Eric Prince and Donald Trump, you fucking moron. What is wrong with this guy? Why does anybody seriously take him seriously? I do not understand it. This guy is bad for the left. This is the guy who represented progressives on fucking Joe Rogan's podcast. This is the guy that they got recommended. This guy and fucking, you know, I slyly hate Muslims and love Sam Harris, Mr. fucking Kyle Kalinske. Those are the people who represent progressives. This moron and Kyle Kalinske And let's neglect to talk about the fact that, you know, of course, Jimmy went along with the Seth Rich conspiracy even more on Joe Rogan's show. By the way, Joe Rogan still pushing the idea that Seth Rich was killed by the Clinton the Clinton campaign. Like, all I ask is that people use their goddamn brains. Progressives are supposed to be better. We're supposed to be smarter. We're supposed to be more cynical because we've had the short end of the stick. We're supposed to be, you know, looking for a bigger game plan to actually achieve something better for our country. And we have this guy. This guy is promoted as our intellectual leader in some aspect. Give me a goddamn break. This guy's terrible. He's so bad. It's like Donald Trump and Bill Gates. No, it's like Eric Prince and Bill Gates and Donald Trump. No, it's like the Koch brothers and Donald Trump. No, it's like, pick one out of your hat. Wayne LaPierre. Did you think of them? The people that are actually damaging this country, the people who are actually working in politics, outside of politics, to influence politics, and have done terrible things around the world. And you think of Bill Gates in comparison to someone who was working with the Russian president to promote the Russian agenda, which is to sow discord in our country, as Bill Gates, the guy who invented Windows, had his company broken up for antitrust laws, and has mostly devoted his life to making sure that there's a perfect condom out there. That's the guy you compare to basically the propaganda minister for the Russian government. Oh, but he's a private citizen. Yeah, okay. Just like all the defense contractors that we have, you know, all the CEOs of defense contractors who live in the U.S. are private citizens. Did you not think this through at all, Jimmy? Or did you just throw it up there because eventually you're going to make your Dave Rubin pivot and be like, the left left me, so now I'm a classical liberal? Jesus Christ. Moving on. I really want to get to some of these other stories, but we're going to keep this going a little bit longer.
We're at a charity event together.
Well, this proves once and for all that in other countries, rich people also hang out.
Yes! I guess that's what that proves, right? So you could also say...
Except in Russia, they control the country a lot more, believe it or not, than they do here. Whereas in the U.S., they control it via the means like employment and other, you know, highly, what's the word? You know, through where they coercive ways, whereas they, you know, control the prices and food supplies and everything like that. Over there, most of the oligarchs over there got to where they were via organized crime. There was a great interview by Sam Cedar. I know Jimmy hates, you know, he's fucking Sam, neoliberal shill. Them neoliberal shill. There was a great interview where they discussed the actual makeup of the Russian government. And most of it is based on the fact that all these people make their money through organized crime and move up the ranks. Therefore, this guy is one of those people. This is how fucking stupid Jimmy is. He's thinking of Russia as being exactly the same in every political context as the U.S. There's no country that has the same political makeup or foundations for which that makeup is built upon as each other. Therefore, thinking of it in the perspective of the United States is a dumb thing to do, done by a dumb person who no one should listen to, who is bad for the left. Actual Russian experts would say, no, that is not what that means, Jimmy. He is not just a regular, normal, private citizen. He is a part of the government because that's how that country is run. It is a literal oligarchy, whereas we're still edging more towards that, but unfortunately, we still lack the, most of the organized crime elements that they have in Russia. Our organized crime element is still Trump and his cabinet. And, the fact that he's still in office, but we still have, the FBI investigating him, which if that happened in Russia, guess what? All those people would just magically disappear from uranium poisoning. Weird that. But no. Let's keep talking about this like it's exactly like the U.S. That's the smart thing to do. That's the right thing to do. That's intelligent, right? And then if you don't if you don't agree with me, you're a neoliberal shill. Just like that Frank Conniff, who I got kicked off my show because he disagreed with me because I said that I wanted to vote for the Green New Deal and that Trump wasn't that big a problem. Hillary Clinton was the main problem, and that's what I stick with. I don't even want to go on, okay? I gotta move on to different stories. This video goes on for 32 minutes like this. This video goes on for 32 minutes. So I'll just say one more time. No. In Russia, it is not like the US where the rich people just hang out together. No, they literally control the government. It's not they mostly do like they do in the US. No, they control it completely and they kill people in order to keep power. But no, it's exactly the same. And this is bad for the left. Good Lord, I could do 3 videos just on this clip right here. And I still would forget halfway through everything I need to say. Honestly, it's that bad. This is a bad take. Jimmy Dore is the of the atomic hot take. Okay? Do we understand each other now? Jimmy Dore is bad. He is bad at his job. He has literal people who are actually experts all around him that he says are bad and that he doesn't look up to anymore, telling him that he is wrong, and he's calling them neoliberal shills, and then going off and talking about this shit, all the while being the representation of progressives. Does this make you feel proud to be a progressive? I know how it makes me feel. Makes me feel glad that I never bought a TYT membership. That's how it makes me feel. Moving on. So, the shooting in Florida. Moving on to a lighter subject, I guess. I have been really impressed by these kids in Florida, and I call them kids lightly. You know, most of them are about to be 18, and they're going to be able to. Most of them are going to be able to vote in November. Okay, we do understand that when we call them kids, so we got to be careful how we talk about them so as not to dismiss them as progressives. We need to do better than that, and I do nothing but commend them for having to deal with all the right-wing trolls who just, they're gonna take our guns, they're gonna take our guns. Well, next, you're gonna take cars because they're drunk driving? And I have heard so many bad faith arguments this week. And while I commend what they're doing, and I feel for them heavily, and I understand what they're doing, we have to know that we are not going to get anything done. These kids, this is going to be likely the first in a long line of disappointments that our incredibly corrupt government is going to portray upon them. And that sucks. There's no other way to put it. It sucks. I'm a big fan of the things they say. I agree with them. With how little action that we've done, you want to talk about how people get radicalized. I was talking to my wife about this, and, it used to be that I was a fairly moderate liberal who was just like, no, capitalism can work, and no, I believe in our government. We just got to elect the right people. It's not that corrupt. It's fine. Now I'm just like, you know what? Capitalism might have been a mistake. I think we need to rewrite the entire Constitution to add some more protections and take out some protections. And we need to revamp this whole failed experiment, because this country really just, if there's any example of what of the dangers of capitalism, it's this country. And we are a huge problem, not only to ourselves, but the world, because we haven't done jack shit about this. It's just made me more and more cynical, and more like, you know what? Baby bathwater gone. Because we're not achieving anything with this. There is no end game here that is going to make every side happy. There's always going to be a loser. And so long as the loser is not the people who donate to the NRA, who then donate to the politicians, our politicians don't care. And keep in mind how I phrased it that way too. Because the problem is not the NRA. The NRA is a symptom. The NRA are middlemen. They are not the only thing that's out there. Oh, I just realized that I need to change the description here. Hang on. Okay, there we go. So, that's good. We got that. God, how is my stream strength going? I think I'm having some issues. So if I've been cutting out, I apologize. We've been having problems with our internet today. I said I was going to restart my computer, and I didn't. But yeah, if one of the kids comes across this video, my message to them is stay strong, but be ready for disappointment. But don't let it stop you, because while the previous generation won't do jack shit, and my generation is going to try their damnedest and get maybe a couple things done, your generation is what's really going to make the difference. And I'm sorry you have to wait, and I'm so sorry for everything that you've had to go through. You know, I honestly hope for the best, and coming from someone else who's lived through, you know, living through a tragedy that's not even remotely comparable, you know, I can tell you the only thing you can do is hang on and stay strong. You're going to let down, but the main person that you cannot let down is yourself. Keep at it. Keep going. Stop. You guys will make the change. And I hope to be 70 years old in my walker, watching you guys fucking get it done and just going, good on you. And then I'll fall over because I let go of my walker. That's my prospects. It tells you a lot more about me. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next story. Billy Graham is dead. In case you don't know who Billy Graham is, he is a prosperity gospel preacher who bilked numerous thousands, millions of poor people by saying that they would have a better time if they gave him their money. Terrible for them, you know, preying on the weak of mind, preying on the easily duped, preying on anyone, you know, is bad. I don't care who it is. I don't care if they all voted for Trump. The real danger is in the leaders that led them to the position they were in. You know, the real dangers is not the people themselves. And that's something that we need to recognize. I feel bad for the people that he bilked out of money. I do not feel bad for him. I do not feel bad for his family. That man's name should be dragged through the coals and not giving any sort of glowing endorsement. He was not a man of God. He was a man of himself. He sought to only enrich himself, and he used religion to do that. You want to talk about the dangers of religion? That'll be an episode all unto itself, and believe me, we will get there. I need some time to prepare it. But that is the danger of religion. So, oh, and he's an anti-Semite, so there's that. Talking about various issues he had with the Jewish people coming to our country. He's like, oh, I support Israel, but I know what those people are in the country. And is anyone really shocked that he turned out to be an anti-Semite? The dude was a fucking awful human being. So, fuck him, and, you know, let's do something. You know, speaking back to the kids of that generation of the Parkland shooting. Murders. It's a better word. Because they were murdered. You guys need to do something about this prosperity gospel bullshit. I'm dead serious. You need to do something. If I were a part of the government and I was in any position to do something about it, you want to know what the first thing I would do? I would go to their churches and I would say, okay, prove your prove the validity of what you're professing. You know, not even prove that this is a legit religion, which is something we can't do. We cannot ask somebody to prove the religion, but just right here, right now, someone gave you $200 in fucking Utica. They're dying of cancer. Prove that you cured them. I feel like there's got to be something specific you can do about that. Like, I don't know, libel laws or something. Because they are openly lying on camera to gain people's money. And I think that is wrong. I think there's got to be some legal loophole. Something that isn't constitutional that we can... isn't unconstitutional that we can do about that. Some interpretation of the Constitution that can prove that we can unearth this problem, expose it to the people who could be hustled out of their hard-earned cash or their barely scraped together cash and resources, to make that not so. I English good. So that's all I gotta say about Billy Graham. Fuck that guy. He's a charlatan. He is the worst part of religions. Bad for this country. His son's still alive, and he's even worse. And we need to stop promoting these fucking people as if, you know, fuck Pat Robertson, you know, just, good Lord. Just, ugh. Moving on. Jordan Sheridan announced today he's back, baby. He's back. Fill up the hot tub. He's back. Oh, God, I had so much respect for that man. He was the only one who was actually still coming to my city and covering the story for the national news, you know, to the extent that TYT is the national news. He was at least somebody who was getting his story out. Excuse me. And I appreciated that so much. And ran into him a couple times around the city. And then I find out he's a fucking creeper. Okay. Creeper is probably a strong word. But let's just go ahead and address what it is he did by listening to Jank's discussion on it. This is 6 minutes. I know we're going a little bit longer than what I said, but we'll blow through this. This is the last story, and we'll be good.
I'm going to give you guys a statement about Jordan Chariton. Of course, people have been legitimately asking the issue, and we wanted to address it. We wanted to address it much earlier, but we couldn't because we were offering Jordan an ability to take a resignation. He has turned that down, and so I'm here to tell you now that Jordan Chariton has been fired from the Young Turks. We conducted and completed an investigation. It was an internal investigation. We could not talk to a lot of the people involved, including the accusers, because they don't work for us. And for a long time, we did not even know who some of them were. Truth Against the Machine has nothing to do with the Young Turks. That was a side project that Jordan set up. So what we did in our internal investigation was we assumed what would happen even in the best case scenario for Jordan. And so I'm not saying that that was a scenario. We did not conduct an investigation as to whether any kind of sexual assault happened. That is for other authorities to deal with. And I'm not saying that the best case scenario is a correct one for Jordan. I'm not saying anything about that because we didn't investigate that. In our investigation, assuming a best case scenario, even in that scenario, here's what we found. So he ran a side business and unfortunately used our company to effectuate that business. Now, Truth Against the Machine was a thing that I thought was a little side project with a couple of volunteers. It turns out that we did not know, nor did he communicate to us, the scale of it, where they were having conferences or conventions, and there were a number of people being through this operation. Again, we have nothing to do with Truth Against the Machine, and the fact that any of our resources were used in that part is deeply troubling to us. Then he unfortunately brought in women that report into him at whatever that organization is, and also some TYT employees into a hotel room, and in other instances, several other intimate settings. That is clearly unacceptable. That is very poor management decisions that he made, and clear firing offenses. So without going into what happened or did not happen in those rooms, for a manager to bring in women into his room, and according to his own admissions, not only internally, but in posts that he then put publicly, have sexual relations with them, is not acceptable. So if you don't agree with that and you think, hey, bosses should be allowed to sleep with people who work underneath them and keep bringing people into their rooms, okay, then we're going to disagree. We offered to allow him to resign and take a severance, and we gave him all the way to Wednesday because we were trying to do the right thing. And he has decided not to do that. And in the meanwhile, he has attacked us over and over publicly. And so since he's not resigning, I'm telling you right now that we fired him. He has refused to talk to us. He got an attorney, and he's saying, no, I don't want to hear it. I want you to tell my attorney, and his attorney has done nothing but threats since then. So what he didn't tell you in one of those posts that he put up, the original one, was that he said that he was doing radical transparency, but he neglected to mention that the woman that he was talking about in very intimate details was someone who reported into him at Truth Against the Machine. That's a pretty important detail to leave out, and not what I would call transparency. He then misstated that we didn't do an internal investigation when he wouldn't even talk to us about that investigation. We reached out to him to have that conversation, and he kept referring us to his lawyer. And then, of course, he said things like we did it for corporate reasons. I don't know what that means. Here's why we did it. We did it to protect the people that work here and make sure that we have professional management in place. Now, look, Jordan in the past has done good work for us. He broke a number of stories that were very important. This does not erase that. And it is actually super sad that it has come to this. And I believe in second chances. And so I hope and believe that he can learn from these, what I consider to be mistakes. And I don't want people writing him off forever. Again, whatever happened in those rooms, people to determine, and it is a really important issue. And I'm not saying anything about that in this regard. So, I hope he can learn from it, and I think he can go on to do good work again. But right now, obviously, we have to do what is right for the employees here and everyone else concerned. So, I'm not going to say anything about anything more about this for now because he's threatened litigation, and of course, lawyers want me to read a statement that is on a prompter and carefully crafted and PR machine behind it and all that. No, I'm telling you, as I always do, I wrote down my notes and I'm telling you what happened to the best of my ability. And part of it is I actually also want to protect Jordan's privacy. No matter how public he's been and no matter what he's done, there are things that we don't need to talk about any further because this situation is resolved. And I wish it didn't go down this way, but it did. So I hope, like I said, I'm going to reiterate it, that he learns from this and can move past it and go on to do good work and good reporting again. But for now, this is the situation at hand, and we clearly had to make this decision for the purpose of everyone who works here. So I hope you guys understand that, and that's all.
See, now let's then see juxtapose that with what Jordan released today.
Hey, it's Jordan Chariton. Haven't talked to you in a while. It's been an interesting few months. I'd say a challenging few months for me personally, but I'm feeling pretty hopeful, and I'm also feeling very informative. The primaries are coming up. I think we're on the verge of a huge progressive wave this year. However, the establishment is up to its old tricks, particularly at the voting booth. So that's why I'm releasing Chapter 4 of my book, Corporate Con Job, very, very soon. I'm going to surprise you and not tell you the date. So you're going to have to be alert and be ready whenever that's going to drop. I hope before I release Chapter 4, you will join and become a patron. Patreon.com/Jordan Chariton. I'm out of work right now. So if you could subscribe, you'll get bonus features, all that good stuff to keep me fed, clothed. I have to get back surgery, unfortunately. So all good things coming. I've written 10 new chapters over the last few months. I'm going to be releasing those new chapters over the next few weeks. And Chapter 4 is about the unprecedented election rigging, the fraud, suppression, and everything the establishment did to take down Bernie Sanders. I think it's important that you really, really know truly what happened in 2016. I was there. I had a front row seat to the New York primary purge. I covered Arizona. I covered Pennsylvania, Iowa, California, the whole nine. So to know and to stop what's going to happen this year and probably in 2020, we really need to know full scale what happened in 2016. I hope you'll become a Patreon. After that, I hope your PTSD is gone, because Chapter 5 is about the Democratic National Convention, all the badness that happened there. You don't know the full story until you read Chapter 5. Of course, I've written chapters on Standing Rock, on Flint, on East Chicago, a disappearing middle class tour I took, as well as that awful night I had to experience interviewing Hillary Clinton voters the night she lost to an orange orangutan. I will say I've been consuming a little bit of corporate and some independent media over the last few weeks. I'm not impressed.
Of course you're not impressed there, Jordan. I need to reiterate that this man has done good reporting in the past. He's also been described as kind of snaky and very loose with, you know, objectivism, and that he has a tendency of being smarmy, and that he has a tendency of, you know, over fabricating some things. I've witnessed it in person. I've seen it. You know? I don't know, man. Here's the thing. As far as I'm concerned, like if here's how I look at it. If Matt Taibbi's credibility is in question over him writing chapters in a book, or his friend writing chapters in a book about instances that didn't happen that portrayed sexism, that again didn't happen, then Jordan Chariton's credibility shouldn't even be under discussion, because he has none. So this man, I swear, like, I don't understand how someone can do so much good and so much bad at the same time. But Jordan does it, and he just has these tendencies of just, you know, so smarmy and so slick and so loose and well, I watched the mainstream media and I was not impressed. That's how he is in everything that he does. That's what I've witnessed. That's what I've watched in all his videos. He very much pushes a narrative, and that is a problem for a reporter. You have to be able to dissect yourself from these certain things. But this isn't a man who is in complete control over his emotions, as we see by evidence of what went on with TYT. Now, I go back and forth on TYT. Mostly, I'm pretty happy with it. A lot of times they do some really good stuff. They get some really good guest commentators on there. I'm a big fan of John Iadarola. I'm a big fan of Ben Mankiewicz. Cenk, I kind of go back and forth on. I have my issues with Anna. There's a number of them that I am truly impressed by. There's Jimmy Dore. We talked about that. Brett Ehrlich is good. He seems to, try to keep his head out of his ass, which is nice. It stinks up there, Jimmy, doesn't it? So, I don't think Jordan Sheridan was that good a reporter beyond the evidence he put out. He was able to find very real things and put it out there, but when it was him in front of the camera delivering it, or him delivering it in print, there was always just this feeling that he was just talking to you like this with such condescension. And can you believe that these people have to go through this? I mean, really, I can't even comprehend how, these mainstream Democrats or mainstream Republicans can get away with this. Like, could you imagine watching every single video he does where he does that? That's him in a nutshell. If you didn't see it before, turn on one of the old Jordan Sheridan videos where he delivers news and try not to see it. He always just feels like, oh, really? So, at Standing Rock, here we are, and the government. Like, you just feel like every time he's talking about something he doesn't agree with, that he's just constantly rolling his eyes. And he's visibly been seen rolling his eyes while delivering news. And that is a problem. That is just as bad as what Fox News does. At least Fox News, their newscasters play it straight. Jordan Sheridan couldn't play it straight if he was, I don't know, put in a vice. Man is just oozing condescension to the point where, you can't give objective news. So as a reporter, as someone who actually uncovered evidence, he was good. As someone who actually delivered that evidence, fucking awful. As someone who is accused of sleeping with his subordinates, or trying to sleep with his subordinates at a hot tub party at a hotel in South Dakota, he's awful. And I can't trust him. And neither should you. And he did a lot for this city. He did the original reporting on the Flint 6, where the only reporting on it was local here. And even then, when he did those interviews, it was always with the same smarmy condescension. Just, oh, were you put in prison because you wore a hat at a town hall event for the mayor? Why were there police there? Why? Like, just, it's grating, it's annoying, And it's just bad newscasting. So, no, Jordan, I don't want your book. No, Jordan, I don't want to be your Patreon. I think you need to recognize that your role is best left in actually investigating and not investigative reporting. You are not good on camera. You are not good in print. You are only good at uncovering things. You should be as far away from any sort of medium where you use any sort of voice that comes from you as possible. You should just be able to find the stuff that you do and hand it to someone who's able to actually deliver it properly. But you're not going to do that. You're writing your book, you're releasing it, and you're having people support you on Patreon. Now, I, as a Flint resident, again, I hate beating people over the head about this, but again, he's done a lot for me. He's done a lot for my city. He's tried to expose a lot in this city. Have to say that when I posted on there, hey Jordan, no, I will not sponsor your hot tub parties, I was met with the same condescension that he likes to deliver on camera and in print. Someone dismissively telling me, oh, I can't believe you actually believe that. And I'm like, he admitted it. He actually acknowledges that the hot tub party happened and that they did get drunk and he did try to sleep with his subordinate. And that the only thing that stopped him was the fact that she repeatedly said no. That shouldn't be the only thing that stops you. That should be like, that shouldn't even get to that point. It should be you stopping you saying, you know what? I'm her boss. I shouldn't be doing this. That's how that works. The easiest way to stay out of those situations where you could be accused of sexually assaulting someone is by not being in the position where you can easily have to excuse yourself from sexually assaulting them. That's seems fairly obvious, right? I've never been accused of rape. You want to know how? I don't put myself in the position where someone could accuse me of rape. I'm just saying, it's not that fucking difficult. And he couldn't even do that. You're her boss, man. You were her boss. And there's a power dynamic that you have to recognize there, that you've done reporting on. You've done reporting on these types of power dynamics being used wrongly, and then you went and tried to do it yourself, and the only thing that stopped you was that she said no, and you didn't want to be accused of rape. But sexual harassment? I'm just saying, do better, Jordan. Recognize your place in the world and recognize the problems you caused. Because as far as I know, he's still carrying out that lawsuit against TYT. And remember what that lawsuit is. That is him saying that it was wrong for TYT to fire him for sexually accosting a subordinate in a company he used TYT to promote. He's working under the umbrella of TYT, goes to Truth Against the Machine as part of TYT, as part of him promoting TYT through Truth Against the Machine, which I started following him because, like I said, he was doing good stuff in the city, and I actually saw him conduct some of the interviews. I was never in any of the interviews. You know, I was off to the side, and, you know, a couple times I would show up to the farmer's market, he'd be there. A couple times show up to the park, he'd be there. It happened. Cool. It's... I saw him promoting Truth Against the Machine a lot. And the only reason I started following him was because of TYT. And as coercive as that is, it's not against the law. But there does come many problems when all of a sudden you're saying it's okay for me to slap my subordinates. Except for when they say, no, don't. Because that would be bad. The whole thing is bad, Jordan. And if you can't recognize that still, then you are bad. And you need to kiss that credibility. Bye-bye. So, that's all I got for today. For this week. Hopefully we're going to get back to the regularly scheduled ideas where we talk about one subject for an hour and a half. I ended up going an hour and a half again. I blame Jimmy Dore, as I usually do. Excuse me. But I think a lot got accomplished in this, and thank you for checking this out. Follow me on Twitter at Mutt1126. Follow me on subscribe to my channel here. Ring the bell to get notified when the next video is coming. I post mostly on Twitter what I'll be talking about, and often have discussions on Twitter. So please follow me there. If you're interested in checking out me playing video games, twitch.com/MarkMunky, MarkMunky. I will be taking a quick break and probably streaming some Overwatch tonight because I fucking love that game. I'm not very good at it, but I thoroughly enjoy it. And that's it. I hope you guys have a wonderful night. I'll see you guys next week. Fuck Jimmy Dore, and see you on the interwebs.